A man named Mikael Blomqvist is an investigative financial journalist at Millennium magazine. He is well known and has built a strong reputation in the field of investigative journalism. However, his career takes a sudden downturn when he is accused of publishing a series of defamatory articles about a businessman named Hans-Erik Wennerström. As a result, Mikael is sued and ordered to pay damages amounting to $67,000. Unbeknownst to him, Mikael is being secretly monitored by Lisbeth Salander, a 24-year-old woman with a troubled past who is also a brilliant hacker. She works freelance for a private security firm called Milton Security. Lisbeth is assigned to gather a detailed report on Mikael and submit it to Dirk Frode, a lawyer representing Henrik Vanger, a wealthy industrialist and former CEO of the Vanger Group. After reviewing the report prepared by Lisbeth, Frode contacts Mikael and invites him to meet Henrik Vanger. Henrik is the patriarch of the Vanger family and owner of the Vanger Group. He has a personal request for Mikael to investigate the long unsolved disappearance of his niece, Harriet Vanger, who vanished in 1966 as a teenager. Her disappearance occurred nearly 40 years ago, but Henrik remains convinced that Harriet was murdered. More disturbingly, he suspects that the killer is someone within his own family, motivated by old disputes over the family inheritance. At first, Mikael declines, saying he is not qualified to handle such a cold case. However, Henrik makes him an offer. In exchange for Mikael's help, he will provide a substantial payment and confidential documents that could help him take down Wennerström and restore his career. Eventually, Mikael agrees, both intrigued by the case and interested in the promised evidence.
She was bright, curious, a winning combination in any person.
While Lisbeth continues her surveillance on Mikael, she also keeps an eye on Hans-Erik Wennerström. During this time, Lisbeth receives word that her legal guardian, Holger Palmgren, has suffered a stroke and is now hospitalized. In Sweden, troubled individuals like Lisbeth are often assigned legal guardians, even into adulthood. Due to the severity of Palmgren's condition, the Social Welfare Office appoints a new guardian, Niels Bjurman, a lawyer who now has full control over Lisbeth's finances and daily life.
Would you prefer institutionalization?
One evening, Lisbeth approaches Bjurman to request money to replace her broken laptop. However, instead of helping her respectfully, Bjurman abuses his authority and imposes an inappropriate condition on her. After the encounter, he gives her a check. But Lisbeth, sharp and resourceful, is outraged. She begins planning to trap Bjurman and expose him. Using a hidden camera, Lisbeth sets out to gather proof. She returns to Bjurman's apartment under the pretext of asking for daily living money. Unfortunately, the situation turns much worse than expected. Bjurman violently mistreats her again. Though emotionally shaken, Lisbeth manages to obtain the video evidence she needs. Afterward, Bjurman gives her another check, unaware that Lisbeth has recorded everything. Shortly after, Lisbeth returns to his apartment, this time to confront him. She turns the tables, using the footage as leverage to blackmail him. She demands full control over her own finances and the immediate end of Bjurman's guardianship. From now on, he must do exactly as she says. If he refuses, she threatens to submit the video evidence to the authorities. With her conflict with Bjurman under control, Lisbeth shifts her focus back to Mikael, resuming her surveillance and beginning to dig deeper into his activities. Feeling more secure and independent, she begins to enjoy her personal freedom again. Meanwhile, Mikael, who has accepted Henrik Vanger's offer, moves into a guest house on the Vanger estate, located in a remote rural area. From there, he begins his investigation into the Vanger family and the events surrounding Harriet's disappearance. He studies old records, photographs, and notes provided by Henrik and Inspector Morell, the police officer who originally handled the case in the 1960s. As part of his investigation, Mikael meets Martin Vanger, Harriet's older brother. During their conversation, Martin shares how Harriet's disappearance had a profound impact on their entire family. The event affected not only the Vanger Group's business, but also Henrik's mental and emotional well-being. The next day, Mikael is visited by Cecilia Vanger, the daughter of Harold, Henrik's estranged brother. Cecilia tells Mikael that her cousin Anita was the closest person to Harriet before she disappeared. She encourages Mikael to talk to Anita, saying, Anita was closest to her at the time. She knew Harriet better than anyone.
Anita was closer to her in age. She knew Harriet better than anyone. You should talk.
Following the lead, Mikael travels to London to meet Anita Vanger. During their conversation, Anita admits that she had never gotten along well with the rest of the Vanger family. In fact, she reveals that she ran away from the family at the age of 18 and has had very limited contact with them since. With photo documentation provided by Henrik and assistance from the local newspaper's archives, Mikael begins analyzing photographs taken during the annual Children's Day parade. In one particular image, he notices something disturbing. Harriet appears to be looking at someone in the crowd with a fearful expression, possibly the person responsible for her disappearance. The story continues when Mikael's daughter visits him, informing him of her decision to study at a Bible college. Before leaving, she casually mentions a series of Bible verses that had been carved into one of the desks in Mikael's cabin. Surprised, Mikael checks the desk and begins investigating the meaning behind the verses. Using Inspector Morell's past case files and his own notes on a series of murders from decades ago, Mikael starts to see a potential connection. As the case begins to reveal new leads, Mikael realizes he needs a partner, someone capable of helping him uncover the truth. With direction from Dirch Frode, he is referred to Lisbeth Salander, the same person who had secretly investigated him earlier. Mikael arranges to meet her in person for the first time. Though initially guarded, Lisbeth agrees to help after Mikael confronts her about the surveillance. Intrigued by the mystery herself, she decides to work alongside him. With her exceptional hacking skills, Lisbeth quickly uncovers a chilling pattern. A series of unsolved murders dating back to 1949, all in Sweden. Each case appears to have a connection to Old Testament Bible verses. The names of the victims match references found in the scriptures. The next day, Mikael and Lisbeth conclude that the murders were likely motivated by anti-Semitism, a deep hatred toward Jewish people expressed through acts of cruelty and violence. Initially, they suspect Harold Vanger, Henrik's younger brother, as the perpetrator, since most other senior Vanger family members had already passed away by the time Harriet vanished. As the investigation progresses, Mikael and Lisbeth divide their efforts. Lisbeth looks into the family's business records to trace Harold's activities, while Mikael travels to visit Harold in person. But on his way through the woods, Mikael is nearly shot by an unknown assailant. Fortunately, he escapes unharmed. Later, while following another lead, Mikael uncovers new documents and evidence that suggest Martin Vanger, Harriet's older brother, may be involved. To learn more, Mikael secretly enters Martin's house to search for answers. However, Martin returns home unexpectedly and discovers Mikael snooping around. Meanwhile, Lisbeth has discovered that Martin and his father were responsible for the historical string of serial murders. She finds a photograph where Martin is wearing a distinctive blue sweater, the same one worn by the man Harriet appeared to fear in the Children's Day parade photo. Lisbeth rushes back to Mikael's cabin, only to find he's missing. In reality, Mikael is now tied up in Martin's basement. There, Martin confesses to the murders of several women, but insists he had nothing to do with Harriet's disappearance. As he prepares to kill Mikael, Lisbeth arrives just in time and strikes Martin with a golf club, knocking him to the ground. While she unties Mikael, Martin flees in his car. Lisbeth gives chase on her motorcycle. During the pursuit, Martin loses control of his car and crashes in a violent accident. As Lisbeth approaches the wreck, the car suddenly explodes, killing Martin instantly. Afterward, Mikael meets with Henrik to inform him that although Martin was behind the serial murders, he was not responsible for Harriet's disappearance. Back at the guest house, Mikael begins to suspect that Harriet may still be alive, and that Anita, her cousin, might be the key to solving the mystery. Mikael returns to London and discovers that his hunch was correct. The woman he had previously met and believed to be Anita is, in fact, Harriet Vanger, living under her cousin's name. Anita had passed away years earlier, and Harriet had assumed her identity to escape her past.
You're safe now.
Mikael brings Harriet back to Sweden to reunite her with Henrik. The emotional meeting brings Henrik to tears as he embraces the niece he had thought lost forever. Harriet later confesses that she killed her father. who along with Martin had abused her for years. Fearing for her life after spotting Martin at the parade, Harriet had fled with Anita's help. The story continues as Lisbeth uses her hacking skills to help Mikael confront Wennerstrom. She empties his foreign bank accounts, exposing his financial crimes. The fallout causes Wennerstrom's business empire to collapse, and the lawsuit against Mikael is dropped. On a snowy night, Lisbeth buys a leather jacket as a Christmas gift for Mikael. But when she arrives at his home, she sees him with another woman, his editor at Millennium magazine. Heartbroken, Lisbeth says nothing. She turns around, climbs onto her motorcycle, and rides away in silence. And with that, the story ends.
If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. Because by subscribing, you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.